This is Gemara and Sukkah, Daf Tesvav, all the learning for this month, the month of Av, as we are almost here at Shabbos Nachamu. Baruch Hashem, a consolation after all the wonderful morning, wonderful as we get closer to Hashem, and Mir Hashem, especially with the learning, has been sponsored L'Zecher Nishmat Zechesel Shagim and Avram Yehuda, as well as Rechel Bashem Shanar and Tzvi. The Neshamush have an incredible aliyah from the learning of the entire Chabura. Of course, our people who need a Shidduch, Yishal Chaim, in the very Shir Miriam Basri Zegitol, at the Leah Bas Ita. The Shidduchim should be Bekaroib as we move towards Tubav, and finally our Chedim and Vivek Chaim Yisar Sham Simon Reis Azar Bas Gnan Dali Tabasim As Chaysay yourself Mindali as the words of Shalei Sham Mas Naomi Vashavik Shir Khan Shmo Ben Tildim Khan Reis Dem Chaim Bismina Li Rachab Savi Musa Dinin Vashin Men Svim Kek Vern Fechol Zun Nasel Huva Because Shavin Natzal Zim Nechel Esther Besoy Sha'ar Chayle Yisrael. We pick it up on the top of Tesvav Amid Aleph. Some beautiful, absolutely beautiful pictures coming your way today. Get excited because I am. Says the Mishnah Tikra She'in Aleha Maziva. We have a tikra, we have a roof that has no maziva, there's no plaster. There are just boards on the roof and they never finished it up. Maybe it's like grout that we know we put between the floors, plaster to hold the boards together. What is the status of this roof with regard to Sukkis? Rav Yehuda Omer Beishamei Omer Mefakvik V'noitel Achas Mi Bein Tayim Ubeis Hillel Omer Mefakvik Oy Noitel Achas Mi Bein Tayim. So Rav Yehuda comes along and he says to Machlokes Beishamei Beis Hillel, how much do you need to do to fix this roof? Do you just have to be Mefakvik, loosen up the beams? As Rashi over here says, Soiser umenanea es kulan, shake them up, and then take them out, and then put kasher schach between them. And then Beis Hillel says, no, either loosen it, or noitel achas b'meintayim, take one from the other. And Rav Meir says, noitel achas b'meintayim, veinei mifakvik. Just take one out, and you don't have to loosen them. So we have a machlekes, Rav Yehuda and Rav Meir, whether seemingly there's a machlekes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, which the Gemara will clarify. Now, with the pictures, we'll explain the Mishnah a little bit more. Here you have your tikra she'in aleha maziva. You see, you have a roof, you have planks that are nailed down to the roof, but there's no plaster, there's nothing between the planks. All there is just the nails holding the planks together. So says the Gemara, what is the story over here? We have, so mefakvik. What does mefakvik mean? I pointed out to Rashi. The Rashi says you take out the planks. You just take them out, as you see in this picture beautifully. He's climbing up. Hope he doesn't get his nice shirt over there dirty. And he's taking out the planks. But now it says the other shitais, as he quotes so beautifully in this picture book, is absolutely fascinating, Kol Hashain, is that the Rosh explains, you don't just take out the planks. The opposite. Hoitzos hamasmi. You remove the nails. Basically, the difference here is, mefakvik is you're loosening, you're shaking, you're changing and moving a bit of the beams themselves, whereas noitel achas b'meintayim is that you're actually going to take out the plank and put in kasher schach. So over here, again, Rashi was of the opinion that what are you doing? You're moving them and then you put them down. I think Rashi is probably more the conventional understanding. There are many people, there are different scenarios where they have to make their sukkah kosher. There's something wrong with their schach, and we all know that concept of pick up the schach and put it back down. That's really Rashi. Mefakvik, you pick it up and you put it back down. The Rush says you just take out the nails. Now over here, noitel achas b'meintayim, as you see over here, that what do? You don't just take out the planks. That doesn't help you. You take out the not kosher schach and you put kosher schach between them. So again, Rav Yehuda said, machlekes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai requires both. Beis Hillel requires one or the other. Rav Meir says all you have to do is take them out and you don't have to loosen them. We're going to use the word loosen for mefakvik, which sort of fits with Rashi and the Rosh. Loosen meaning either the nails or loosen meaning either the planks. Says the Gemara, Bishlama Beis Hillel. I understand. Why does Beis Hillel say either shake the boards or remove them? Because the issue is it's your ceiling, it's your roof. It's already a made sukkah. You didn't make it as a sukkah. You have to make it as a sukkah. So therefore, if you shake it, that's called a maisa. You did something to your sukkah. That's also an action. Different ways of making it ways of making that I created the sukkah. Beis Hillel, givaldik, beautiful. Beis Shammai, what's Beis Shammai's reasoning? What did Beis Shammai say? Either take it out or put in the thing. What's exactly Excuse me. Why does Beis Shammai say you need to do both? Loosen it and remove it. Says the Gemara. Like we just explained, one is enough. Either loosen it or remove it. Either one is an action making it ta'aseh, so it should be fine. Why does Beis Shammai say you have to do both? So maybe there's another reason, which we've seen many times the past few days. If the issue with this sukkah is it's a gezerah, it's a din d'Rabbanan, a rabbinical decree forbidding you from sitting in your house. Why? Because we're afraid you're going to come to sit in your house. We're afraid you're going to sit under your regular tikra, your regular roof. Then asks the Gemara, then it should be enough to take out the planks and put in kosher schach. Because then you're clearly changing the roof into a sukkah. So why does Beis Shammai also say to loosen it? So says the Gemara, I don't understand the opinion of Beis Shammai in the Mishnah. Why would you have to do both? Why would you have to be mefakvek and then in noitel achas b'beintayim loosen it, take out the nails, shake it, and then replace it? Answers the Gemara, la'ilu misham gzeras tikra. Really, the problem that Beis Shammai had was the din d'Rabbanan, the gezerah. And this is what Beis Shammai meant. Beautiful. Beis Shammai is telling me, even though you loosened it, even though you took out the nails, it's not enough. Meaning, Beis Shammai is not saying you have to do both. If you replace it, that's perfectly fine. Beis Shammai is just honing in and pointing out, magnifying. Don't just loosen it. Don't just take out the nails. That's not enough. You have to also replace it because it's a gzeirah d'Rabbanan. And if you just loosen it, it's going to look like a regular house, and you can be within that gzeirah d'Rabbanan. So you have to go and actually replace the beams, the ceiling walls. Says the Gemara, in Eloi. Ask the Gemara, it's a beautiful explanation of Beis Shammai. If that's true, what did the Seifa say? We didn't really delve on that so much. Let's delve into it right now. What did Rameir say? What did Rameir say? The exact words we just explained Beis Shammai. Rameir, I knew Beis Shammai, which of course, this question has it's a double whammy. Number one, we never like Rameir to hold strictly like Beis Shammai. Question number one. Question number two says the Gemara, it's also an issue that what's the problem? Excuse me, we forgot to plug ourselves in, and that's still not working. Okay, let's hope that we survive. Says the Gemara, apologies. Says the Gemara, second problem with Rameir is, what, he's just repeating the Mishnah? We had a Tanakama, Machlekes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. Then we have Rameir saying the same thing. And he's saying like Beis Shammai, a double whammy, what's going on over here? Answers the Gemara, this is what's going on. You know what Rameir is telling me? Rameir is coming along and saying, Rav Yehuda, you learned that there's a machlekes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. You learned Beis Shammai requires both, which we now know means really to replace. Beis Hillel says it's enough to loosen. Comes along Rameir and says you're wrong. No one holds it's enough to loosen. No one holds mefakvik is enough. Everyone holds noitel achas b'meintayim. So it's true, at some level, he's restating the opinion of Beis Shammai, but he's taking it even further. He's saying, Rav Yehuda, you got it wrong, that even Beis Hillel agrees. Even Beis Hillel would say, you can't just loosen it. Says the Gemara, Maika Mashman, according to Rav Yehuda, that, what's the in the Mishnah, the machlekes is in Gzeras Tikra, that's what comes out over here. The Machlekes Rameir and Rav Yehuda there's Gezerah. That Rav Yehuda, the first opinion seemingly held no, that the Mishnah is discussing Tasav Leimina Asui, and that's the reason why Beis Hillel allows you just to loosen it. And Rameir says no, the issue of a roof is a Gezerah d'Rabbanan. Asks the Gemara, the obvious question, anyone who learned the past few days, my Kamashlam, what's the Chiddush to Rameir? Is like Gzeras Tikra. Rav Yehuda last like Gzeras Tikra. It sounds like the entire Machlekes is whether there is this din d'Rabbanan. No, we already know this machlokes. Tetinan that we learned not so long ago. It was yesterday's daf. Are you allowed to use planks of wood? Says Rav Yehuda, yes. Says Rameir, no. Rameir holds no. Why? Gzeir d'Rabbanan. They can be like you're sitting in your house. Rav Yehuda holds yes, no Gzeir d'Rabbanan. So what's going on? Rameir and Rav Yehuda already had this machlokes. Why are they having the same machlokes again? Answers the Gemara. Amar Rav Chia bar Abba, Amar Rav Yochanan. Let's have a new way of learning. Reisha, the first Mishnah, the previous Mishnah, yesterday's Daf, B'nisarim Mishupan Askinan, is dealing with smooth boards. Umishom Gezeiras Kelim, and it's not Gezeiras Tikra. We learned yesterday, thinking that the entire Machlekes is, are you allowed to sit in the house? It's a Dinder Rabbanan and Gezeir that were afraid you might come to sit in your house. Says Rav Yochanan, you got it wrong. Yesterday's discussion was a different discussion entirely. The discussion was they use very smooth planks of wood, and therefore they look like kiddim, they look like utensils. So do we decree that you can't sit there because one might think you could sit in a sukkah that has kelim utensils on the roof, which of course is a problem because they are mikabel tama naguba. Rav Yehuda Amar, excuse me. That is the first Mishnah, and our Mishnah is Gezeiras Tekra. So our Mishnah is the regular Din D'Rabbanan, whether we're going to come to concern that you might come to sit in your house, and the previous Mishnah is discussing what? The previous Mishnah, is discussing if you have very smooth planks of wood, is there a new Gezeira like Kelim? Asks the Gemara, Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, Damar, again, this daf is a beautiful chazara. This was 3 days ago, daf Yud Beis and Beis. Rav Yehuda Rav that says bechitzin zecharim k'shei rem nekevas psula. You're allowed to use the male arrowheads. Remember, the male arrowheads, the part sticking out is kasher. The female arrowheads, the part sticking in is puzzle, because the female arrowheads have a base kibble. They are mekabel tama. But you're allowed to use the male arrowheads. V'loy gazar zecharim atu nekevas, and we did not make a gzeira clearly. We allowed you to use the male one. So we see that Rav Yehuda holds that we don't make gzeiras kelim. So we see that he wouldn't make gzeira here either. El al karchach, says the Gemara, you're right. Okay, we got to go back to the drawing board. We're back to the Rameir and Rav Yehuda argued the same argument 2 times. The previous Mishnah and our Mishnah is Gezeiras Tikra. El al karchach reisha pligi b'Gzeiras Tikra. The first Mishnah. V'seifa and our Mishnah pligi b'Gzeiras Tikra. V'fligu b'tarti zimna lamali. So why do they have to have the same machlekes 2 times? Answers the Gemara. Seifa Rav Yehudi the Ka'amar le the Rameir. The Seifa, the Chiddush is the Rameir responded to Rav Yehuda, Amai ka'asarta b'nisarim mishum gzeiras tikra hay svaras beishami. The Seifa is the previous conversation we had today. The conversation on the top of the daf. The Rav Yehuda says to Rameir, you're saying Beishami's opinion. Who dislay? Who Beisil like Gazri? Beisil wasn't bothered by that concern. V'amar Rameir, and what did Rameir respond? They don't argue in this matter, and rather they both agree that in this case, there's going to be the Gezeira. If you just loosen it, it will be a problem. So says the Gemara, yes, the previous Mishnah yesterday and today's Mishnah both are discussing the exact same Gezeira. Is there a Din D'Rabbanan allowing you to sit in the Sukkah because we're afraid you're going to come to sit in your house? What's the Chiddush of our Mishnah is the conversation that we started off today. Beautiful. The conversation in our Gemara between Rav Yehuda and Rameir. Rav Yehuda saying to Rameir, you're saying Beishami's opinion that there's a Gezeira to this D'Rabbanan. And Rameir responding, no, Rav Yehuda, you got it wrong. Even Beis Hillel agrees that just being mefakfik loosening is not enough because of this gezeira. Absolutely beautiful. Says the Gemara, one more question before we get to the next Mishnah. Hanicha l'Rav. Oh, beautiful. Another chazara from yesterday. Hanicha l'Rav, the Amar Machlekes B'Yishem Arba. Remember, we had a Machlekes Rav and Shmuel. What was the Machlekes Rav Yehuda and Rameir? The Machlekes was, is the Machlekes Rav Yehuda and Rameir boards bigger than 4, boards less than 4? So Hanicha l'Rav, Rav's opinion that said the machlekes b'shiyesh b'marba, where they argue when it's bigger than 4 but less than 4, everyone holds it's kosher. Again, let's remind yourself, what did Shmuel hold? That bigger than 4, everyone holds pasul. Less than 3, everyone holds kosher. Between 3 and 4, that's the machlekes. So says the Gemara, according to Rav, that says the machlekes is when it's 4. The Rameir, and what did Rameir hold? What's the reason? What's the machlekes? It's like Zeres Tikra afraid to come sit in the house. Rav Yehuda last like Zeres Tikra. Everything is beautiful. Because that's exactly what we just explained. The machlekes of Yehuda and Rameir. Therefore, we're going to have 2 times that they argued about the same point. And our Mishnah is the new additional chiddush of a Rav Yehuda Rameir conversation. Is the Rameir arguing within Beis Shammai or not? Which we know means the machlekes is between 3 and 4. But once it's for Divrei Yaakov Psula, What is the argument in our Mishnah? In our Mishnah, we know already. The Rav Yehuda agrees that if it's 4 tvachim, it's possible, because everyone agrees if it's 4 tvachim, it's possible. So between 3 and 4, that was the machlokes. So why in our Mishnah does Rav Yehuda say that Beis Hillel will say it's enough just to loosen it? That's not true. Our Mishnah is discussing boards that are 4, and Rav Yehuda agrees that boards that are 4 are going to be a problem. Answers the Gemara, so it comes out right now, the last moment, we're sneaking in another explanation of our Mishnah. Says the Gemara, according to Rav Yehuda, bebetulei tikr kamiflagi, the machlokes in our Mishnah, Rabbi Shame Beis Hillel, whether mifakfek, loosening the boards is enough as a machlokes, is betulei tikra. Mar Sava Rav Yehuda holds batla bahachi, umar Sava Rav Meir holds loi batla. Says the Gemara, comes out a bit ironic, that is loosening the boards enough to make it into a new ceiling. Says the Gemara, we're going within the opinion again of Shmuel, that we're arguing that it's bigger than 4. If it's bigger than 4, Rav Yehuda should hold what? He should hold it's always possible, because everyone holds bigger than 4 is possible, says Shmuel. Answers the Gemara right now, a massive chiddush in the last 2 days, Daf. Answers the Gemara that it comes out of our Mishnah, Rav Yehuda, Beis Hillel is teaching us, even though I, Rav Yehuda, hold 4 is bigger than 4 or puzzle, forget about it. But if you then go and you do what? You're mefakfek, you loosen it, I will agree it's going to be kosher. Even though I told you yesterday, the entire last Mishnah taught the board is bigger than 4 puzzle, forget about it. The whole machlokes is only between 3 and 4. But if it's bigger than 4 and you go and you're mefakfek and you go and you show that you're making it into a sukkah, it's kosher. Why is it kosher? Says the Gemara, absolutely beautiful, explains Rashi. What was the whole reason it was possible? Bitule tikra, geziras tikra. We're afraid you're sitting under these massive 4 tvachim planks. You might think that you're coming to sit in your house. But if you go and you loosen it, you don't change anything. You just loosen those boards. You're showing that what? You're showing that you're not living in your house. You're showing you're aware of the halacha. Therefore, says Rav Yehuda, according to the opinion of Beis Hillel, that will suffice. That will be enough to machshir it. Of course, it is a massive chiddush that within a gzeir derabanan, a din derabanan, we're allowing a technicality that you show that you know the halacha to be kosher. But that is what comes out. An absolutely fascinating chazara of the past 2 days. Not bluff again. Now let's begin the new Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, we're on the bottom of Tesvav and Aleph. Similar like we just said a moment ago about using kalim on the top of your sukkah. Says the Gemara, if you cover your sukkah with shvudim, with spits, metal spits, or aruchas amita, or pieces of a bed, if there's space between the puzzle schach, the same size as themselves, kshera, in number 1. Let's see some pictures and we'll get straight into the Gemara, and no one should be concerned about the time. Everyone can peek in Amud Beis and see it's a teeny little Amud. Excuse me, says the picture, that here you have the boards, those smooth boards that we spoke about a moment ago, where there's a gezerah of Kelim here. Here's our Mishnah. If you use shvudim, as you see those metal spits, or aruchas amita, they look a little bit like benches. So if there's actual space, a precise space between them, like a kosher schach, then it's going to be okay. If not, and here's the case that we've seen already. Achoitet be Kaddish. Says the Gemara on the bottom of Tesvav Amrav, Leima Tevit Yofta de Ravuna Breid Rav Yeshua. Our Mishnah seemingly disproves Rav Yuna Breid Rav Yeshua. The Itmar, what does he hold? Parutz Kaimid. Because if Yeshua holds that parut is going to be kaimid or a papa amar mutter, what is the status if parut's kaimid? If I have a wall Erevin days, Shabbos days, I have a wall that the open areas is the same size as the closed areas. Is that called closed or is that called open? Rav Papa says mutter, it's called closed. Rav Yehuda Brei Rav Yeshua amar aser, and as the status of an open as the status of a parut. So what do you see, aser? So what do you see? So you see that if it's equal, it's like there's nothing there. So in our Mishnah it's equal, and yeah, we see it is like there's schach over there. Here you see parut's kaimid. You see over here that the spaces are equal to the wall, and in this case, Rav Yehuda Brei Yeshua says it's nothing. It's puzzle. It's like there's no wall. So if this is like there's no wall, then how in this case in our Mishnah is it going to be like there's going to be schach? It's going to be equal, and therefore it should have a din of a parut, it should have a din of nothing, and therefore it should be a very big problem. So our Mishnah seemingly disproves the opinion of Rav Yehuda Brei Rav Yeshua. Amar lach, Rav Yehuda Brei Rav Yeshua in the last line, he answers, "My kamaisan b'nichnas v'yaisei." When the Mishnah said kamaisan, as we turn over to Amud Beis, We breathe a sigh of relief. Although, of course, everyone can learn the taste. It's a fascinating Succah. But we breathe a sigh of relief and we realize it says the Gemara, what's the answer? What's the case of the Mishnah? The case of the Mishnah is not where it's exactly precise. Nope, that's not the picture. The case of the Mishnah over here, you see it's exactly precise. The case is it's a bit wider, a bit bigger. It's easy to move in and out. Nichnas v'yoytze. And therefore the kosher schach is more than the pasul schach. It's not a case of part, it's kaimid. And therefore it says the Gemara, that's the reason why it does not disprove the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yeshua. Ask the Gemara as we turn over to Amid Beis. Why are you saying that's the case? You're saying the case must be that there's more space because in order to take the planks out, in order to take the bedposts out, must be there's no area. Why are you saying that? You can make it precise. Amar Ravami, you're right, you could make it precise, but mibadif, the case in our Mishnah is where it is bigger. A bit of a technical, bit of an ukimta. We don't love saying such answers, but says the Gemara that the case is going to be b'madiv, and therefore there's going to be more kosher schach. Rava Amar comes along Rava and he says, "Afilu tema b'she'ein madif." We can even explain that the case is that you did not make it bigger, meaning they are exactly precise. So if they're exactly precise, it seemingly disproves the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yeshua. It disproves the fact that whenever you have equal open and closed, our Mishnah says it's kosher, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yeshua says it's possible, you're not allowed to carry in such an area. Answers the Gemara, it is exactly precise, but you know what the case is? The case is that you put the schach on the other way. As you see over here, that if you have the pasul schach one way, you put the kosher schach the other way, and similarly over here, if you have the pasul schach one way, you put the kosher schach the other way, and therefore invariably it's going to end up filling up more area, and that's the reason why it's going to be kosher. Says the Gemara, says the Mishnah that if you put on top of your bed, on top of your sukkah, you put pieces of your bed. Asks the Gemara, excuse me, not asks. Says the Gemara, we have a raya to the opinion of Rav Ami bar Tavyumi. If you use bloi kelim, worn out utensils, even though a worn out utensil is not mikabel tama, a part of a utensil is not mikabel tama. If this piece flies off, this is not mikabel tama. It's part of a utensil. Only utensils themselves are mikabel tama. So I would have thought if I use a utensil, then it's mikabel tama. It's pasul. If we use part of a utensil, it's not puzzle. Says the Gemara, our Mishnah proves the opinion of Rav Ami bar Tavyumi. Because Rav Ami bar Tavyumi said so beautifully. Worn out kelim, worn out utensils. Even though they're not mikabel tama, they are puzzle. So to our Mishnah, we're taking a piece of the bed, even though we seemingly is not mikabel tama. But we see when something comes from something mikabel tama, a worn out garment comes from a garment that was mikabel tama. A piece of a bed comes from a bed that's mikabel tama. Says the Gemara, we see it's going to be puzzle. Answers the Gemara, there is no rayik. Amar Rav Chanan, Amar Rav, Ba'arucha ushtei karayim, biksar ushtei karayim. We're referring to a part of a bed, a long part with two legs, a short part with two legs. Just like Rav Chanan Amar Rabbi said that, Hachinami, our Mishnah is discussing Ba'arucha ushtei karayim, biksar ushtei karayim. Now, we don't know what that does, but the Gemara's answer is, it's not a case of a worn out utensil, it's not a case of a part of a utensil, it's a case of a real utensil. It's a case of a part of a bed seemingly that has a function unto itself, and therefore it is mikabel tama. Therefore, that's the reason why it's possible. And therefore, it's not a raya to the opinion of Rav Ami bar Tavyumi. But we yet don't know what does this piece of a bed do. It seemingly still sounds like a piece of a bed. So we go for a few more moments. Says the Gemara, where did he say this statement? As we turn over to tomorrow's daf, Tezayin Omer Aleph, let's just see a few lines. Mita mitamaz bechavilo mitaharis chavila. A mita is tame when it's in its entirety, and it becomes tar in its entirety. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer v'chachamim oimrim mitamaz evarim umitaharis evarim. They're both of the ways that even if it's in pieces, it's in ivarim, it's still tame or tar. Mind you, what is going on? What is the case over here that we're discussing? Amar Rav Chanan, Amar Rabbi Arucha shtei karayim, miksar shtei karayim. The case is a long part with two legs, a short part with two legs, and therefore that's the reason why the din changes. Why, says the Gemara, this is the line that we need right now. L'may chazio, what is the usage? The whole point of this answer was to prove it's not bloi kelim. It's not going to be just part of it. Says the Gemara, l'misachenu aguda, that you could rest it on the wall, u'lemesav alayu, and you could lie on it, u'mishadi ashali. Says the Gemara, Or you could put ropes on it, and therefore says the Gemara, there is a usage to this bed, and therefore it's not just a piece of a bed, as you see over here, and we finish with this, arucha with your shtei krayim, your piece of your bed with your two legs, or the ksara part of the bed with the two legs, and answers the Gemara, there is a usage to this bed. It's not a random case. The case is that you can lean it against the wall, that you could actually use it as a bed, even though it's only part of a bed, and therefore says the Gemara, it's not a case of a part of a keli, it's a case of it's actually a full keli, and that is the reason why it's going to be a puzzle sukkah, because it's actual kelis makabel tama. We'll pick up from here.